out of the zone. But guess what? V2 is still pushing. They are unstoppable right now, Vicky.
It's Joke that's going to be able to get that knock here, too. Foot playing off the low ground. They should not have given up that extra cover because we know that there are some squads here left between, I believe, 6 squads. We got Horizon, LFO Forever, we got Foot, we got Game Lord, V2, and Reply Totem, and Foot having to play this out as a duo. Let's see if they can try to get the res here.
That's right. And once again, Joke says, Fallout, stop talking about Psychop and Le Site de France. I'm showing that I am the superior French IGL as Joke playing with Zidane and Nubicide, 2 rookies to the ALGS, outperforming his former teammate in Game Ward. But both teams are alive. It'll be a battle of France here in this late game. We'll see who ends up making it to first place.
V2 are in such a good spot, though, on the high ground right here. They have to make sure that their backs are cleared up. That's going to be the one thing that they need to focus on with the circle closing in on their backs. Look at Game Ward now. They're actually climbing up on those rocks. Reply Totem playing this as a duo. Now it's only up to Amaz. He's got the Gold Evo shield. He's got the shield cells, but he needs to give up this ground. He has no cover, and he gets deleted in each angle between Foot and Game Ward.
Yeah, Maze, the Italian, out. It's going to be Foot Esports coming from Scandinavia. Game Ward still alive. The French, and we know. We also have V2 with a high kill game also alive. The last team, well, it's Foot, not for long. Taylor down and actually knocked. Noth, the last alive, the old man for this team. Can he do it? He's going to take out Zidane. Nubicide is knocked, so it's a 1v1. Joke versus Noth. Can Noth do it? No, he gets shut down, and Foot Esports out in 4th.
V2 are popping off. Joke himself alone has 6 KP to his name and the kill leader, and he can get the reset. Absolutely beautiful play here for V2, specifically for Joke walking away as the kill leader with that. Agreed,
and guess what? While that's all happening, Game Ward and LFO are fighting each other, so that's going to give them a chance for a full reset, Vicky. We have 3 squads remaining here in this last game on World's Edge. Game Ward is fully kitted out in Evo Shield. It's going to be a storyline finish. I can't wait to see who ends up on top.
Oh, and Aimbot's got that RE. Not too sure if he just used up all the ammo, actually. He saw that there were some swap-ups on the ground right below them. They also swapped up the golden helmet real quick. It's all about that priority and getting that information. Rocking full red Evos, obviously, in the late game to match that with their other squad, V2, behind the rocks. They're out of a lot of the fighting here, though, and the only thing separating Game Ward and LFO Forever is that big rock, as LFO is forced to drop down first. They're going to be sandwiched between these 2 squads.
Yeah, that's not the ideal scenario in a game of Apex. In a sandwich, you never want to be the meat. You always want to be the bread. Where's my man Hodsick? As we're watching Game Ward right now. Joke on high ground. Good, V2, sorry. Joke on high ground right now, getting some good shots in initially against VFO. Our last and only Bloodhound in this lobby is still alive. You like to see some of the old school comps still surviving as Bloodhound has been making an impact here for Game Ward. They're getting all the intel in this late game.
Look, as a Bloodhound main, I'm always happy to see that. Always happy to see a lot of that results coming in between the Bangalore and Bloodhound duo. And now as the Rolling Thunder comes in, you can see Game Ward are making their move onto V2.
That's right, wide right flank. They're actually going to ignore LFO in the middle, and that might cost him. Aimbot's going to get absolutely melted, but Psychop takes out his former teammate in Joke. 2v2 fight for the win. We talked about the Battle of France, and guess what? Game Ward is on top still, quite literally. High ground right now for YOLO. Needs the shield swap, needs it quick. He's going to get it, but they're in a 2v3. Wicked gets knocked. Are you kidding me, Game Ward?
Oh, LFO Forever has the RE45, but it's not going to be enough. Game Ward move in, and they take game number 3, our final game on World's Edge.
Are you kidding me? Game Ward, Aimbot, I believe it was Psychop as a duo. The last 2 players just clutched back-to-back 2v3 fights to win the game. What a finish. We called out Game Ward. We said they had to perform. And Tiff, boy, did they perform there in game number 3. What a finish right there. You like to see the Bangalore and Bloodhound team comp coming out on top.
I feel like we were just kind of waiting for this moment to happen. They started warming up in map number 1. We saw them win a fight on Vexed Gaming, and they just kind of continued that momentum forward to finally find themselves a victory. And you're highlighting that Bloodhound and the Bangalore composition. I love it. Personally, we're seeing a little bit of it into the NA region with the team G2, and it's been working out really well for them the past couple of weeks, so I'm really glad to see someone doing it here in EMEA and finding success with it as well.
Yeah, I gotta completely agree with that. It's actually, you know, Vic, I know you feel some type of way about Bloodhound. I feel some type of way about Bangalore. Both of them being represented. It's like me and you out there in ranked frying together, but obviously not nearly as good as these guys. A really good finish for them, and really a lot of diversity overall in team comp. We saw Gibraltar there in that game. We obviously saw Crypto, and I think maybe over 10. I think we're double digit in legends chosen here. So again, the healthiest that Apex Legends beta I think has ever been in terms of legend diversity, and you like to see it overall, Vicky.
Yeah, what I really like to also highlight is their composition also promotes a lot of aggression. So the call to send it onto V2, even at a disadvantage because they lost out on one of their teammates before LFO moved in, to then reset, get the RE45 and an Evo shield swap, and then immediately turn things around despite being at a two-man disadvantage. The fact that Gamer was able to come out on top after LFO had the opportunity to push in. They did play with a blue Evo shield, I believe, and two purple Evo shields at the very end, which also is a health difference between what Gamer was working with, the red Evo shields, was fantastic because it works into their team comp amazingly to play aggressively like that.
Yeah, I mean, it paid off incredibly well. The moment that you called it, John, when LFO Forever kind of jumped onto that catwalk in between the two teams, I kind of just sat there and I was like, oh no, this is not going to end well for them. And then you make that statement. You don't want to be the meat, you want to be the bread. And now I'm just like, I do enjoy some nice garlic bread, and I would prefer to much rather be the bread than the meat in that scenario. And that's just what happens, because the moment that you get pushed out into the center, every team just starts eyeing you incredibly. They're just like taking fights. That you saw a lot of the Bangalore smokes going immediately onto them, and they just got grief. But overall, I mean, not bad for a last game on World's Edge.
Yeah, you're spot on. They turned that sandwich into more of like a casserole, maybe like a, I don't know, some type of, skillet perhaps, and absolutely shook things around. I was not expecting that push. The decision to swing wide right was so interesting, and Vicky nailed it with the RE45 and the impact of the weapons in their pack or their backpack. I'm excited to see the final circle if we have it, because that was a really, really interesting last fight. And honestly, game 2, I thought was going to be impossible to top in terms of how unique that late game fight was with the Ring of Fire. That was even more interesting with the fact that Game Ward made that decision to say, let's just alpha this lobby, let's push wide right, let's take control of our own fate, and ended up winning a 2v3 in the end. Are you kidding me? That was one of the most exciting finishes we've seen in a while, Tiff.
I mean, sometimes you just have to do it. You mentioned it best. Just alpha it. And I feel like as soon as you can make that switch in your brain mentally, like as a player, like you already are going into that scenario a lot more confident. And sometimes just having your mental game on point is 90% of the battle. But let's go ahead and take a look at those highlights from match number 3. And it starts off once again with Scars going down early, which always kind of hurts my heart to see. I know they're a new roster, and I think it's just going to take some time, or maybe some interesting decisions on those early game fights to maybe get some aggression going. But then it was Nightmare Esports, Vicky.
Yeah, Nightmare getting involved in the chaos that happened on the mouth of this tunnel, exiting Geyser. Well, we saw 5 squads here duke it out. Corpa could have been that meat in the sandwich. I personally, I don't care if it's an unpopular opinion, I love extra pickles on my sandwiches. Ooh. And, that was basically the cherry on top for some of these squads to get involved in third party, looking at their positioning on the outskirts of that tunnel.
Yeah, coming on over, we got Corpa getting a little crazy here in Fragment, and then it's Vex looking to pick up some eliminations as well, but rather lackluster throughout, so I'm hoping to see them step up in Storm Point, just like some other teams. IG International, this was one of those moments, John.
Yeah, that's right. It was not Game War, but it was V2 here that took out the winners of this fight with the ultimate flank, and third party VZN got taken out in just moments before. And I like that we saw Game Ward a bit ago too. You got to kind of see their journey and trajectory. I mean, I don't know how many kills they got in the late game. We know V2 got a high kill game. We know Game Ward did as well. That's going to help them both out. I think they were both sitting in kind of the middle of the standings or middle of the pack. So it's going to be a really, really big game for them.